Costco is one of Charlie Munger's favorite stocks. He has said, I'm never selling Costco. Now, as a value investor, my goal is to look at Costco and say, he may not be selling it, but should I be buying it? So Mo and I are going to do a deeper dive today in Costco, not all the way deep, but deep enough where we can show you some of the things we look at for a company like this. So Mo, you're sitting here and you're gonna look at the bull and bear case. Yeah. I'm gonna pull up the 10K to look at some of the things that matter to me when it comes to Costco. But before we do that, let's kind of do an 8-pillar analysis real quick. And we're gonna look at it, Costco Wholesale Club. All right, look at this stonk. 52-week high of 612, 52-week low of 406. Here is the 8-pillar tab looking at Costco. So right here, a couple X's, not a big deal. Shares outstanding up 1.4% over the last 5 years. Not major dilution, so I'm kind of okay with that. But the one I'm not okay with, this is not a startup. To be selling for 48 and 50 times earnings and free cash flow over the last 5 years, Mo is chuckling because he knows what I mean. Okay. Guys, bigger multiples are justified by companies with a lot of growth potential, have a lot of growth in them, or really high ROIC, or a combination of both. Now, they do have a high ROIC. Their return on invested capital is 13.5%. This shows that they're really good at getting high returns on the money that is invested in the business through debt and equity. We love seeing that. They're definitely going to be above their weighted average cost of capital, okay? But again, we have 48 and 49 times earnings. We have a dividend here of 0.7% that eats up about $1.5 billion of their $4.2 billion in free cash flow the last 5 years. Now, one thing I'll mention, their gross margin is only 12% and their bottom line margin is 2.5%. So why does this matter? Well, one of the things I would say that's probably in Mo's bear case, and I haven't seen his bear case yet, at 2.5% with a high inflationary environment, yes, they will pass the costs on to their users and their buyers, but it takes a little bit of time. So I do worry that this increase in inflation might cause them to have a dip, especially with such a low gross margin. I mean, listen, software businesses have profit margins 2 or 3 times this amount. Their gross margin, which means for every product they sell extra, they add about 12 cents of that, 12% of that product's cost sales number as profit before all overhead.
Do you worry about that long term?
No.
Okay, just temporary.
That's a very temporary solution.
So when you bake it into your pie, what are you thinking? Because you're looking at this from 10 to 15 years out. I
don't even factor it in. Okay. But what I'm bringing that up is to say to people, be ready. Okay. They could have a hit to their profit margin overall.
Got it.
Okay. So let's see what analysts are saying about Costco. Well, looks like they're pretty bullish about it.
Yes, they are.
5 years, they're expecting EPS to go from $13.30 to $20 per share, which is about double-digit growth from here. And in terms of revenue, $230 billion to $300 billion, which is mid to high single digits. So my first thing I'm going to bring up, I'm going to go to our metrics page and pull up the 10K right here on the right, on the left. Annual reports takes us right to the SEC website. Boom, their 10K just came out last week. So same store sales. Have you seen our videos in the past about retail? I always talk about same store sales. Why is that? Guys, if a retail store has decreasing sales, but they open more stores, it's easy to show increased revenue. So I want to see how well are the stores that have been open 12 or more months doing relative to the previous year. I want to see that the stores that already exist are still growing, right, Mo?
Yep, absolutely.
Was this mentioned in any of your bull or bear cases?
No, it wasn't.
Interesting.
It wasn't.
Okay, so I'm going to pull up this 10K, start looking for some things. Mo, why don't you go over some of the bull and bear case?
So guys, what was interesting and what I was telling Paul before I started doing this video, the bear case on this was really, it came down to one thing. People just talked about valuation. So I thought that was very interesting. Now look at some of these bull cases. These were, in the past year, Kirkland brand, that's their brand that they do. They have had sales eclipsing $59 billion, and that is 30% of their total revenue, which is, I mean, they have a lot of pricing power right there. It represents nearly 1/3 of the company's entire business. This gives Costco immense pricing power. Look at this. That was 3.5 times the revenue that BJ's Wholesale did, which is just mind-blowing to me. Now, when we get down to the valuation piece, this guy from Motley Fool, whoever wrote this, I was wildly impressed. And I told Paul right before this, the guy said that he was not going to buy this stock based on valuation. And I was like, wow, I can't believe that. Just because you see a Motley Fool, you're like...
Every advertisement for me on Motley Fool is buying this stock is like buying Amazon at $1.76.
But it's funny when you look at the PE. What was the PE? 45 or 48 or something like that?
The 5-year PE was 48.
Yeah. So, But even coming down here, looking at more bull cases because that's the majority of stuff. Gasoline prices. People are going and looking at gasoline prices. You have a lot of savings there. I had a Costco card for several years just to have gasoline.
Me too.
You save about 20 cents per gallon. But even without gasoline, they still made money. Take out gasoline out of there. They still had growth last year.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's pretty wild, even without that gas bump. So overall, to me, everything that I was reading, I like everything about Costco, except for one thing, stock price.
So Charlie Munger says that I think he said, I watched him say this before, he's never seen a company do so much for its consumers than Costco does.
That was mentioned in here.
So here's a 10K. Guys, I look up comparable sales. So if you look up here, I did a search for comparable sales and I just searched through until it gave me this chart. Increase in comparable sales, US. Here's year by year. 2020, even the year of COVID, they had 8% increase in comparable sales. Last year, 15%. This year, 16%. Guys, that's amazing. That means stores that have been open, not new stores, not total sales, were up 16%. That's an incredible number. I'm happy to see 3 to 5% increase in comparable sales. Just keep up with inflation. Make sure your stores are just keeping in line as you grow because retail is hard and hard.
It seems like Costco, right after COVID happened, people just started bulk purchasing. And bulk purchasing definitely helps with inflation in an inflationary environment. You're going to save a little bit.
Absolutely.
And something I also want to notice, their app, their online store is awesome. Their website is awesome. I mean, I wouldn't think that I would be using the Costco app to shop for things, but it's very intuitive, very easy to search, very easy to buy different things. You can go and pick up in store. They'll ship it to your house. I like it. So their internet sales have to be doing well, I would assume.
So we can look at that in the 10K too.
Yeah.
Now, guys, one thing I want you to do, comparable store sales. Every company will define it differently. So I did my search. We define comparable sales as net sales from warehouses open for more than 1 year, including remodels, relocations, expansions, and sales related to e-commerce websites operating for more than 1 year. Very simple. Sometimes you'll see ridiculous things like, we want to make sure it's stores that have been open for at least 12 months, but if they're a remodel, they're open 18. And I get worried when they start being very specific about definition. Yeah. Costco's just like, listen, has it been open for more than a year? Yes. Okay, that's comparable store sales. And I like that. Okay, so next, are they growing the number of stores? So total stores.
A couple of years ago, actually, speaking of this, the Costco CEO did say his goal was to be within 20 miles of every home in America. That's where they want to go. I don't necessarily see that happening right now. I was just in Asheville, North Carolina. It took me about 40 minutes to get to the closest Costco, so that's not necessarily the case yet. But if their goal is to grow, let's see if they actually grow.
So look at this. This is interesting. This is their chart. I've never seen this before. Average sales per warehouse. Here's the year they were opened, number of warehouses, going back 2013 and before, and totals. So 2013 and before, look at this growth. It's stagnant, then it started to grow. So they were seeing some really good growth on the warehouse that have been open for a while. And they've opened 30, 23, 29, 26, 21, 20, 13, all along the way. They're showing all this. And in total, 838 locations, and here are the total sales here. So guys, this is what you need to look at. Costco has 838 locations. One of the next questions I'd ask is, what's their potential?
Yep.
How many are international? When I say international, do I just mean Mexico and Canada? What about Europe? I don't know these things, but in the world of investing, everyone's obsessed with growth. I'm not as obsessed with growth as everybody else is. I value growth, but I get worried when companies grow purely because they feel they have to grow. I don't want that out of a company I'm investing in. I want the company to make strategic and smart growth initiatives. The e-commerce growth is probably very, very important in this company, and that's what I'm going to look up next when it comes to the 10K. So then I want to search for what percentage of the revenue was from e-commerce. I want to see a comparison chart. Unfortunately, the only thing I found here was net sales for e-commerce represented approximately 7% of total net sales in 2022. So in order to get the other ones, the previous year, I have to go to the previous 10K and see what that was. Now, keep in mind, we had COVID, so there might be some skewed numbers. What I'd rather see is that chart that says by year how much it is, and I didn't find that in the 10K, but I'm sure that's available somewhere on the internet and something that you should probably look into. You want to make sure that Costco is getting more and more e-commerce. Also, with that said, though, I do believe people are going to be okay going to Costco to buy in bulk. I don't think it's one of those things where people are going to say, I don't want it if I can't do it this way.
And it's almost like this experience. People like going there. And the whole thing is the experience. The last earnings call, the CEO focused on the hot dog and pop price.
Yeah, but that's a big thing.
But it's going to stay at $1.50. But to me, that's like you go to Costco to shop. and then you go have a hot dog. That's an experience.
So many people ask about the hot dog.
You don't hear that at Sam's Club.
I've never had the hot dog. Have you had the hot dog?
No, I haven't had the hot dog.
Let's go get a hot dog sometime.
Okay.
Do you still have your membership?
Yeah.
I don't have mine.
Okay, we can go.
We'll go get a hot dog.
Get you
Okay, sounds good. So from here, it's all about peeling back the layers. So far, nothing we've seen here bothers me. Nothing I've seen here says, oh my God, avoid this company. But at the end of the day, a great company and a bad stock price are a bad thing. We do not want that. Right. So if you're new to this channel, what we do here is I've been teaching value investing for over 10 years and the last 3 years on YouTube. But remember, just because I have a YouTube channel, just because anybody has a YouTube channel does not make them an expert. What I want you to focus on is process. And I guarantee that if you watch 4 or 5 of our videos, you will walk away understanding money and investing a lot better than you did before you started. And even if you don't agree with everything I say, which you should not agree with everything I say, but you'll walk away saying, you know what, Mo and Paul, they have an understanding, they have a process. I don't agree with everything, but it makes sense. So now let's go figure out what price we want to pay for Costco. Now, guys, my guess is based on 48 times PE and 49 times price of free cash flow, my guess is even though the stock is in the 400s, we're probably going to be sub 200 or pretty close to that, just based on those valuation metrics, because I don't see the major revenue growth that can justify such a high PE and price of free cash flow. So let's go right back to our software. Let's go back to analyst estimates just to get an idea of where they're looking. So remember, mid to high single digits on revenue growth.
5 years out.
5 years out.
Yep.
So I'm doing a 10-year analysis. Revenue growth, I'm going to do 3, 5, and 7. Mo, thoughts?
I thought 7 was a little high because I'm looking at they're going 7 in 5 years from now.
Yeah, but remember, we also have inflation coming in. We also have they also had same store sales increase of 16% last year, which I'm sure was helped by inflation, things like that. But I'm not as worried about that one based on where Costco is. But if we want to put it lower, let's put it lower.
2, 4, 6. That was mine.
See, I think 2's low. What about 4, 5, 6?
Okay.
Because I think 2's too low.
All right.
What's 4% growth over the next 10 years? Calculate. So guys, this is what you're getting to see. You're getting to see our exact thought process when we sit here and talk about, what did they do in revenue last year?
Last year they did
250?
227.
Okay, so 227. That would give them $340 billion in revenue, and analyst estimates for 5 years from now were 300. Okay, great. So profit margin. I'm just going to go right across the board. 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. It's right there, guys. Yep. It's the same thing year in and year out. Free cash flow margin. I'm going to do 2.2, 2.4, and if they crush it, 2.6. Now, PE. So remember, the 8 pillar number was a 5-year PE. The 1-year PE is 35. The 8 pillar price of free cash flow was a 5-year price of free cash flow. The 1 year is 60. So not a lot of growth potential, but a great moat. I'm going to go 14, 15, and 16.
Okay.
What do you think, Mo?
I was going 14, 16, and 18. The reason I was because of the moat situation.
Okay, let's do that. I'm gonna go ahead and acquiesce to Mo. Now, desired annual return. Now, guys, remember, for desired annual return, this is basically your margin of safety and the return you want. If you invest in a long-term ETF, you're gonna get 9 or 10%. So if you're gonna invest in an individual company and you want some margin of safety, you're gonna want a higher return, right? The more return, you pay a lower price. The higher return you want, you have to pay a lower price. So here, Mo.
I go 12.5, 13.5, 14.5.
I love it.
Because I don't think, even the high estimations, I don't think they're that out.
I was actually going to go 12, 13, 14, but I'm fine with this. So again, the stock is at 467 right now. We just hit the analyze button. Now keep in mind, guys, if all the numbers come out green, it doesn't mean you go out and buy. It means you sit here and verify these numbers and make sure this is accurate. There's multiple ways to do that. One of which is do your deeper dive, go do some internet search, go see bull cases and bear cases, or save yourself some time, join our Everything Money community for just less than $1 a day at everythingmoney.com. Either way, you have to go do more research if it's all green. If it's all red, what I recommend you doing is adding the stock to your watch list at whatever price you want. That way it'll tell you when it hits that price, you'll get an email, you'll get a text on your phone, you'll get all of these things done to notify you when the stock has hit that price, and you can then go and do the more research you need to do when it's getting closer. So I hit the analyze button, boom, and there you go. A low price of basically 150, a high price of 200, a mid price of 175. I'm going to add it to my watch list at 200 because I want to start researching it then. I'm not necessarily going to buy it. I'm going to research it. So this video made a lot of sense. Please watch the next video, which is our process for buying. Thank you very much for your time.